Happy New Year, you guys! Can you believe we made it to 2021? I am so excited to be with you, and you might be wondering, Jackie, what are you doing here? Brandon is in charge of Edge now. But I told you guys it wasn't going to be that easy to get rid of me, and we thought it would be really cool if I helped out with some of the proclaims and came to see you guys on some of the Edge nights. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the Epiphany. You guys have probably heard about the 12 Days of Christmas, right? That song. And that song's there for a reason. It's because for us as Catholics, Christmas isn't just one day. For the rest of the world, December 25th comes and goes, and then they take down their lights and their tree, and they pack up their decorations and anything else that might remind them of Christmas, and they put it away in their basements and their attics and their garages. But for us, Christmas is much more. It's much more than one day. And it's all pointing towards something that should be in our hearts all the time. And that's the incarnation. That's God becoming man so that, we could have true happiness, so that our relationship with God could be repaired. And so it's really easy, don't get me wrong, to become distracted by what the world says Christmas is about, right? And that's the presents and the treats and all the fun things we get to do around Christmas. And I understand that because it's easy for me to get distracted, right? By the shiny lights and all of the things and what my kids might want to do and baking cookies and all that fun stuff. And I'm not saying those things are bad, but that's not what Christmas is about. Those desserts and those presents are going to be not interesting, and they're going to lose their excitement within a couple weeks. But what isn't going to be lost, what the excitement that's not going to be lost, is the fact that God became man for us. So, why the incarnation? Well, there's 4 main reasons that God became man. The first is to repair our relationship with God the Father. The second, to prove God's love. The third, to show us how to live. And the fourth, so that we could share in God's blessed life. And so the first is to repair our relationship, right? And we've discussed this before, but sin puts a strain on our relationship with God because he gave us these laws for our own good. And every time we sin, especially if we keep sinning and don't go to confession, it just puts a greater and greater strain on that relationship. And God knew that we weren't going to be able to overcome, everything that had to do with sin on our own. And so he sent his son to take on that suffering and even death for us. The second reason is because he wanted to show us his love. Love so great that he got onto a cross and suffered insurmountable pain for us, because that's how much he loved us. And so if you ever feel like you're not particularly close to God, all you have to do is look at a crucifix and know that very personally and uniquely that he loved you so much that he sent his son to die for you. The third reason is that he wanted to show us how to live. And Jesus, he lived a perfectly holy life. He didn't say be holy and then take off. He lived a perfectly holy life. And he didn't just give us a new commandment to love one another. He showed us what that love looked like by giving himself completely to the disciples that were around him and to the world through death. He showed what true love and true sacrifice look like. And the fourth and final reason for the incarnation is that God wanted us to share in his blessed kingdom, in his life. Through baptism and through Christ's suffering and his death and his resurrection, we have become sons and daughters of God through adoption. He wants us to share in his kingdom, both here on earth and in heaven. Earlier, I had talked about the song, The 12 Days of Christmas, right? And for us as Catholics, there's more than 12 days of Christmas, but the song stops there for a very important reason, and that's because of what happens on the 13th day after Christmas, the Epiphany. And so the Epiphany, which literally translates to manifestation, is the celebration of the Magi, the wise men coming to Bethlehem to see Jesus. In Matthew 2, 1 through 12, it states, "When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of King Herod, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, 'Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star at its rising and have come to do him homage.' When King Herod heard this, he was greatly troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it has been written through the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, land of Judea, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, since from you shall come a ruler, who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and ascertained from them the time of the star's appearance. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word, that I too may go and do him homage." After their audience with the king, they set out, and behold, the star that had been seen at its rising preceded them, until it came and stopped over the place where the child was. They were overjoyed at seeing the star, and on entering the house they saw that the child with Mary his mother. They prostrated themselves and did him homage. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their country by another way. So the crazy thing about the Epiphany is that 3 wise men from the East, the Magi, who didn't have the scriptures or Jewish tradition, that they were some of the first people to be witness to the incarnation, to God becoming man. And it was because of the fact that they were open to God's grace working in their lives. They were open to God. And because of that, he sent them a star that led them to Christ. And what that shows us is that the incarnation isn't for just the Jewish people or for perfect Catholics. It's for every single person. It's for Jew and Gentile. And that if you are open to God's grace, if you're open to him working in your life, that Christ will be revealed to you. So just like those Christmas movies where, the main character is searching for the true meaning of Christmas, we as Catholics, we need to keep the true meaning of Christmas in our hearts, and that's the incarnation. The Epiphany reminds us of how much God loves us. No matter how imperfect we are and how much we sin or stray away from him, he loved us so much that he became man. And just like the Magi, just like the wise men, we need to keep our eyes fixed on Jesus. We need to never stop seeking him, just like they did. Because if we're open to his grace, he will do great things in us. All right, you guys, I'll see you soon.